Tom Sargeant, Flames offensive lineman, joins us here. We'll also have a couple of our wide receivers coming up here in just a bit as well. Tom, thanks for the time. We're just going to take some questions here from the media. I'll start with one. Just give us an idea how camp has gone for you. I mean, you've been through this several times now. Is it any different this year than it has been in years past?
Yeah, so I think this would be my 6th fall camp here at Liberty. Things have changed. A lot is different from when I first came in. Whole new staff, whole new team together, because I think there's only 5 people from that original team that I played with when I first got here, but a lot's changed. The game for me has gotten easier, just seeing things, comes with experience. It's easier to see things that the defense are doing, and being able to, relay that to all the other guys, it'll help us a lot.
About the T-shirt, culture wins. I've seen a couple other guys wearing that. Is that something that started within the team?
Yeah, so Coach Freeze always preaches to us that a good culture on a team is what's going to make the difference and make us a winning team. He always preaches to us that a good team, coaches will lead, but a great team, players will lead, and that's something that we're trying to instill in everybody. We want to be a player-led team. It's people that we want leaders that uphold the standard for everybody. We want everyone going full go at practice. We don't want people slacking off. We want people doing the right stuff in the academics, taking care of their bodies, whether it's hydration or showing up to the training table on time and stuff like that.
Next, let's go to John Manson from A Sea of Red.
Tom, you mentioned about how a lot has changed in your 6 years. I wonder if you could speak to the part of you guys are receiving votes in the preseason top 25 in both major polls. You finished last year ranked in the top 25 in both polls. How different is that? Also, there's lots of NFL scouts around watching, Malik and some of you other guys. How different is it from that aspect?
So, in regards to the votes and stuff, I think that's awesome for this program. But I think that has a lot to do with what we did last year, and this year we still have yet to prove ourselves. So Coach Freeze talked to us this morning. A lot of that stuff is just noise. We don't want to hear that stuff. We want to, because like I said, last year is last year. This is a whole new year. We have to prove ourselves again, and we just have to chase the standard each and every day at practice. Take one day at a time, one game at a time, stuff like that. And then in regards to the scouts, from my first couple of years here, there is a lot of increased, presence with NFL teams here, I think, which is awesome, showing some of the talent that we have.
Damien Bounds from the Lynchburg News in Advance.
Tom, you're one of 16 players who opted to come back for another year. You and a lot of guys, it's your 6th year here in college. And what was the thought process of coming back for another year? And will you be finishing up like a second master's or something like that?
Yeah, so last year I probably wasn't I never really knew what I was going to do, whether I was going to come back or not. I wasn't fully sold on one idea or the other. But I think one of the big opportunities or the thoughts for me to come back is, that throughout my 6 years we've built, I think a successful team. And for me being able to come back, is just an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. I think, being able to play another year with the guys was probably my biggest motivation for me to be able to play with my, my friends and my teammates. Just another year with them was probably the biggest motivating factor.
John, go ahead.
Tom, we've talked to Coach Gregg, obviously, periodically, and he's always talked about John Cordes, pushing you real hard, and he's trying to get him on the field, but he's got yourself ahead of him. Just take us through that dynamic, that relationship between the two of you guys. I'm sure, have you talked with him? I'm sure he's like, I wish Tom would just go ahead and leave so I can get on the field, or anything like that.
Yeah, John's a great guy, and he's a great football player. He, like you said, I'm starting in front of him, which is it's hard for him. But he's really pushes me a lot. You know, when the new staff came in, we had to prove ourselves all over again to, you know, Coach Greg and who the starters were going to be, because everything I did in the past, you know, didn't matter to them. So having, you know, a good player with John Curtis behind me, it really had to, you know, I had to come to work every day. You had to, you know, be 100% every day, because when you're in a competition like that, you can't take off any days, because if you do, you know, you give the other person the edge. But John, I think this year, I hope we can get him in some games. He's a really good football player. I think next year, after I'm gone, he's going to be, you know, one of the leaders of the offensive line. He'll be able to take the reins.
Tom, you look at everything you guys did last year, and you know, we've talked to Noah this year, we've talked to Malik, and they've said, you know, basically they've already turned the page and they're focusing on this upcoming year. With so many people coming back that contributed to last year's team, where does that set the expectations level for this 2021 season?
So yeah, with everyone coming back and all the experience, you know, it's just the standard is so much held to so much more. You know, at practice we can't be messing up things that we've messed up the past 2 years, or, you know, things like that. We have to, with all those guys coming back too, we have to push each other to uphold the standard, because we all know, you know, what a good team can be like and what it takes to be a good team. So I think having all these old guys back and people who have come back will really help, you know, lay the foundation for the young guys as well, that they'll see, you know, what we do and what we preach, and that when they get older, they'll be able to do the same thing.
Go to Ed Lane from Virginia Talk Radio Network.
Tom, last year, obviously, it was a weird offseason, weird limitations in terms of abilities to interact with teammates and work out together and all of that which is entailed there. How much has this year been beneficial for you guys now that you had a full season working with Malik as quarterback, knowing what his tendencies are, and then being able to use this offseason to adapt, adjust, and be a better unit?
Yeah, so COVID kind of really, you know, didn't really put a halt on things last year. It made things difficult. You know, whereas in the offseason working out with Coach Dom, we were limited to doing certain things. We weren't able to have so many people in the weight room. We did a lot of workouts outside on the practice field. And I think Coach Dom and his staff did a great job last year of making sure that we were ready for the season. But having this offseason, a full year, you know, the spring and the summer training, I think was huge for us. It was a time for us to grow together as a team. And I think Coach Dom really put together a really good program so that, you know, I see guys last year that are a lot, you know, bigger. They've grown in the weight room. Coach Dom focused a lot on speed this year. A lot of our skill guys are a lot faster, which will help us, you know, on the football field and things like that.
Any other questions for Tom Sargeant? Damien?
Tom, when you look at the starting offensive line this year, no matter who starts between Jacob or Damien to your left there at guard, everyone's back from last year. And this is something we asked you last year as well about the continuity there on the line. And it seems like this is the third straight year you guys are going to have the same unit, with the exception of Dante not being there at right guard. Yep. But from a continuity standpoint, how in sync are you guys there on the line?
So together, I think we're, you know, a really good offensive line. We've played a lot of games together. We've played, you know, we've practiced a lot next to each other. But I think right now in camp, we're working on finding that balance again from last year, because there's things that go on. We got to go 5 for 5 on the offensive line no matter what the play is. But sometimes during this camp, it seems like we'll go 4 for 5. One guy's not finishing a block or things like that. That's just something we have to grow on. We've been working on every day. So we're really close, I think, to putting it all together this year. But it's just certain things that we have to work on and finish. But all together, we work really well together, all of us. I can trust whoever plays next to me. I trust, whether, you know, the left side or the right side. I think we have a really good offensive line. I trust whoever they put out there.
Can I put you on the spot a minute, Tom?
Yeah.
I want to go across that line, and I want to get some thoughts on each guy. Just, like maybe just describe these guys for folks that don't know them. Like, let's just start with the Brendan Schlittler. Like, what's he like? What makes him unique out there?
So Brendan, he's a thinker. He likes to know everything that's going on, things behind the scenes. He wants to know. He wants to be put in the best position possible. He's really smart, and he's really physical and strong as well. And I think over the next 2 years, he's going to become a really good football player. I think he is one right now, but further development in the weight room, he's going to be a beast when he's a senior.
What about Cooper Mccall?
Cooper is actually someone who surprised me. I think after our first Cure Bowl win, after Dante and Sam left, the right tackle spot was open, and I knew Cooper was a good athlete. I knew he had the body and the build to play, and I think that first year he started, he really surprised me. He played really well. He's really fundamentally sound in that aspect, and he's also smart. He knows what's going on.
Tristan Schultz.
Tristan, I would probably say out of the bunch, he's probably the best athlete. He's really strong. I think on the vertical jump, he kills all of us. But he's a goofy guy. But on the football field, he doesn't really do much talking. He lets his play talk for himself. He's a guy that I know will give it 100% no matter what it is.
And then what about Damien Bounds?
So I came in with Damien. Damien's also a great guy. We've been friends. We're roommates. So we have that dynamic going on. He's a guy that I have my full trust in, that no matter what the play is, he's going to get his job done. He's done a good job of putting his weight back on. I know last year he was a little lighter, but this year he's a lot heavier in the aspect of he's can't put his weight back on. But he's someone I can really trust.
Who's cooking in that household between you and Damien?
I'd probably say Damien.
No.
Damien cooks the most, but the number one thing he cooks is breakfast food. He'll eat that for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It's his favorite food by far.
Bacon and eggs, or does he get a little more
he'll do bacon, eggs, and I think he really loves his grits. He likes putting sugar and cheese in his grits. So I don't know about that, but he likes that.